Hey, everybody. Welcome to Fridays with Steve. Thanks for joining us, whether it's here on Friday morning or whether it's on recording. Just a quick word about last week's Fridays with Steve, introducing Copilot to our new and existing customers and anyone who participated in the event. Love the uptake and the feedback. We have more room for Copilot briefings, one-on-one with organizations, with you. And so please take advantage of that. If you need to look back at the post for our last Fridays with Steve around Copilot for the link for signing up for a Copilot briefing. Or just follow up with me, sthompson@apexdigital.com, and I'll be sure and get that to you. I just wanted to mention that out of the gate, as it was, really one of our better received and better consumed Fridays with Steve, and it's kept me busy all week thinking about Copilot briefings. So be sure you take advantage of that. This week, we're going to talk about self-service procurement, business-to-business commerce, and kind of what we're doing here at Apex to embrace that and make that part of, what we bring as a value add to customers, new and old, in this space. I think there's benefits all around. Selfishly, I look at a set of transactions, that we do for our customers, where I bet everybody would be happier if it didn't have the overhead of salespeople and CRM systems and back and forth and signed contracts and all those kinds of things. And so, from my end, I've got this bottom third of our transactions where I'm going, hey, how do I serve a customer better in this space based off of some technology? For our customers, it really is that flexibility to be able to decide for yourself, how you want to interact, how you buy. I'm old enough to remember Dell being innovative in this space, where I was at Target at the time in the 90s, and for whatever reason, Target absolutely loved, well, wait, I can go to a website and order 500 computers. Something that, seems like it wouldn't be beneficial. But for us, having that amount of control, having that amount of insight, instant feedback on availability and ship times and things like that, rather than calling, not to pick on them, our IBM or our HP rep and putting in a quote and getting a quote and signing off and all those kinds of things. The fact that Dell had a website for ordering machines, direct to customer and direct to business, was really a game changer. And we continue to see people wanting to make different choices in those spaces, right? You go to a grocery store, you go to Target, speaking of which, and there are people going through the regular checkout lines, and there's a whole lot of people going through self-checkout. And so we're bringing that to our world, but in a way that I think suits everybody, because it's a bit more controlled and a bit more curated. So I'll talk a little bit more about the benefits of that self-service procurement. We'll take a look at the website too. I'll talk about where we're at and where we're going to be going in the near future. So I don't know about everybody else, but probably in my 20s, maybe, I discovered the Grainger catalog. Grainger is the greatest place on earth. It is, they have everything, right? Absolutely everything for engineering, construction, wiring, just everything you could possibly want. If you need a punch down block to terminate Cat5 cables, and you want to do it yourself, they will send you they will send you the block. You can buy a punch down tool. You can buy a tone generator. Yes, I had all those things. And it's one of the greatest places on earth. And Fastenal and Grainger, now they've moved into this space of self-procurement. It is the ability for workers, and I love that WD-40 is the front and center example here. Workers in an environment can go and get what they need, but it can be accounted for properly, right? Like scan your badge, put in an expense center, take your can of WD-40, and there's no impediment to you getting what you need to do your job, but at the same time, the accounting happens. I picked on HP earlier. I'll now give them some kudos. I worked for HP a couple of different times, and that second stint, when I would visit the large facilities, say in I think it was Alpharetta, Georgia, or out in Oregon, there would be vending machines for a new keyboard or a new mouse or a wired headset at the time. And what you did is you scanned your badge and your cost center was billed, right? And so the part of my team that worked in Alpharetta, if they needed that stuff, we didn't have to do a procurement request. I didn't have to do any sort of approval, or they didn't have to, whip out a credit card and fill out an expense report. They could go get this because, hey, if one of my guys needs a keyboard, go get a keyboard. But then the billing would happen on the back end. And so in the physical world, we've seen a lot of innovation with having people be able to sort of procure and source the things they need and use every day. In this example, as you can see, it's consumables, and at the same time, control inventory, right? I know how people are with WD-40. If you were to put a whole cabinet full of WD-40 out on the shop floor, it would go really, really fast. And this adds an element of control to it, an element of accounting. And this is what we're working to bring to sort of the audio, video, the room space, to say, hey, let's free up your people, your team, to get what they need when they need it, but to be able to sort of do it on their own terms with the accounting on the backside. And so we're going to get into the website here in a second, but sort of taking that Fastenal, that Grainger sort of methodology, and taking it to the digital world, up to and including rooms. One of the things that we're working towards is not just common bundles, or not just like Apex approved or we know work bundles, but actually things that are customized for each individual customer. If your customer X and your bundle is, a Brio camera and a Jabra headset, a Logi keyboard, and that really cool Surface mouse from Microsoft, let's say, we can put that together in a bundle that's presented to you. That's presented to you with your pricing, right? One of the things that we have to be sensitive to is, different costs based on volume, based on shipping requirements and things like that, create, little differences in, not just what you buy, but the buying process. Maybe there's an approval step, or maybe there's only a certain set of buyers from an organization, as well as how it works on the backside. Are you paying on terms? Are you paying with a credit card? Does that influence pricing? And so all of those things we're working to build into our business-to-business commerce site, and our sort of entry into this market of having a self-service lane. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the site. I'm going to have to represent a different part of my screen here. Note to self that StreamYard, which I love, allows you to queue content, but you can't queue sort of multiple parts of screen sharing, as far as I could tell. Maybe someone will correct me in the comments, but I couldn't figure out how to do it. I could queue up a bunch of different pieces of content and things like that and have them ready to go. But when it comes to desktops and Windows, it looked like one at a time. So shop.apexdigital.com, super creative with the naming, is, our resource for engaging with our expertise around rooms, around Microsoft Teams certified devices, and doing it at your own pace, at your own, it's up in the middle of the night. My sales team works hard. I don't actually require them to work 24 hours a day, though. Maybe I'll have to think about that. But the website's always going to be up. I know a lot of customers appreciate doing some of their own research, right? Oftentimes we have new customers come to us that are very educated in the space and certainly have a lot of preparedness or insight when it comes to that first buying decision. And so we've now launched our e-commerce site with not just individual products, but an element of curation that we have done based on what goes well together, what's appropriate for those room archetypes. If you've been watching a lot of Fridays with Steve, over the last, year or so, we talk a lot about teams and teams rooms and these room archetypes. And we really have standardized much of what we do on those archetypes. Is it a huddle room? Is it a medium-sized room? Is it a collaborative space? And we have some base level recommendations, as well as services and documentation that go with each one of those standards. And so what we're working towards, this is V1, and we're going to keep working hard on this, is the ability to bring that to customers at scale, to bring that to them in a platform where they can transact as they wish. And then also in the mid to long term, the ability to customize the look and feel of the environment for your business, to be able to say, hey, this is our room standard. And as all of our locations get on board with outfitting, the small conference room that's in each of our 47 locations, I want to make sure they're buying the same thing, right? I want to make sure they're buying our standard from a pricing and a supportability standpoint. And so we've really built that in. As you can see, we've built bundles that really reflect some of the different archetypes. We've also built in, again, a lot of customers come, even initially with that sort of Android versus Windows, if not decision, at least a strong opinion on what that looks like. And so we've tried to enable the ability to really say, hey, what fits your needs, but then curate it with our insight and feedback, right? We've done hundreds of these rooms at this point, and you end up learning a lot of lessons, right? I've sometimes I go off on tangents with some of my reading and learning, and it turns out that humans are uniquely capable of sharing a lot of important information culturally or via language. And that's why when we're born, we can't walk till we're, a year and a half, and we can't talk till some point because we've evolved to learn things through reading and through learning. And that's one of the things we've been able to do over the last, 3-4 years when it comes to room systems. So you don't have to learn it yourself, right? That's not to say that kids still won't touch an electric fence because they don't buy you saying, hey, don't touch that. Sometimes you have to learn those lessons for yourself. But in the room space, we've learned a lot of things. And so we really come armed with, hey, here's what's in the bundle. Here are the key things you need to think about. And then give you the ability to say, hey, is it wall or TV? Or what about extended warranties? And do all of those things so that you don't have to, that you can learn from all the things that we've learned over the years. So this is, medium room Android. Let's take a look at small room, Windows, give you an example of a look and feel, we're talking about, how do we manifest some of our furniture knowledge, some of our wiring knowledge into this space so that, while you can't necessarily put spools of Cat5 cable in the cart, what can we say to you about best practices, about placement, and all of those kinds of things? So again, hey, is it, where's the tap going to go? Where's the controller for the room going to go? Do you want to mount it on the wall or do you want it on the table? How are we going to mount the rally bar in this case from Logi? Are we going to mount it to the TV with a Visa mount? Are we going to mount it to the wall? What about warranties? And then let's go ahead and add it to the cart. And so, we've started to build in that that knowledge that we've garnered when it comes to the rooms. And then there's the pieces that really say, hey, well, what about the add-ons? One of the things that we try to do is really start with a complete solution. And there's a number of things where we say, hey, there's some add-ons that make the experience really great. It's been interesting just to share kind of an anecdote with you. We've found that a lot of customers are very comfortable when it comes to the hardware, adding extended warranties and things like that. But something like our managed service offering is a bit new. And so it's a different conversation. The same is true with these accessories, right? Some of them feel very, very necessary. And some of them are like, well, that's new. I don't need that, right? But to me, the greatest example is that Logitech Scribe. If you're outfitting a Microsoft Teams room for a relatively low cost, you can turn an existing whiteboard into a digital whiteboard. The Logi device is absolutely amazing when it comes to its capability. And oftentimes customers aren't even thinking about that until they talk to us, right? So again, I talk about customers coming to us with a lot of research and a lot of ideas about their space before they talk to us. Sometimes we have to maybe talk them out of some of their ideas and some of their notions simply because they hadn't thought about a scribe, they hadn't thought about mic coverage, they hadn't thought about mounting options and so forth. And so we've tried to bring that to the site as well. And so this is just V1. We're working really hard. We've added some talent and some scale to the organization. Part of their charge is to focus on our ability to give you that self-checkout lane and be able to do for yourself. I love it when customers work with us directly, but I also want to be thoughtful, be respectful of how people want to buy sort of going forward. And so that's why we're coming to market with a B2B site, and why it's important as a part of our strategy going forward. This is just V1. V2 is going to add in, like I said, some of that per customer customization and our ability to really give you that curated experience. Again, thinking about this Fastenal or sort of the Granger story, these are, the devices they've built to do it. But if you think about it, maybe you don't love WD-40. Maybe you're crazy like that. Everybody loves WD-40. But instead, those need to be bottles of Windex, or they need to be, Seafoam or some other industrial product. We want the ability to be able to customize that, based on your needs and based on what makes sense for your environment. So that's just a little bit about our new foray into the world of e-commerce and B2B selling at scale and digitally. Stay tuned for a lot more advances. We've been doing this a long, long time with a lot of success with customers. We just want to keep driving that, right? And we're going to go where the market takes us in that respect. If you haven't, the next time you're checking out at Target, or the next time you're checking out at the grocery store, no matter where you go, just simply take notice of people making different decisions about buying, right? Is it self-checkout? Is it getting help with checking out? What about carrying out bags versus carrying your own? The craziest thing is we have a local grocery store here in Minnesota that is famous for carrying your bags to your car. It's totally complimentary. It's a great way to employ 14 and 15-year-olds in their first jobs, and it's a great service. Half the time I say, no, I'm good, I'll just carry my own out. Why on earth do I do that, right? And so rather than trying to diagnose my neurosis, we're working to just enable any decision that you want to make about your buying. And so this is just another example of how Apex tries to stay very relevant and very on top of what you want to do. So easy next steps: visit shop.apexdigital.com. If you want to talk to our sales team, reach out to sales. As always, you can reach out to me, S. Thompson at apexdigital.com. I'm happy to engage on any thoughts or feedback or ideas you have. In addition to reaching out to me directly around this, you can also reach out directly to me for Copilot briefings. You can also visit our website at apexdigital.com /copilot-briefing. There's an easy sign up. You get direct access to my calendar, which frightens me a little bit. Please be nice. Central time zone, so no 5 o'clock West Coast appointments, please. And I'd love to talk to you about how you buy and how you want to engage with us around rooms. And just a reminder about the great session we did last week around Copilot. If you haven't checked it out, please do, and sign up for a briefing. And if you're ready to buy, go ahead and visit shop.apexdigital.com. That's it for this week. Thanks for joining us on Fridays with Steve, and we'll see you next time.